Welcome back, Blue Raider Nation, to another season preview, but basketball is back, and we're talking to the men's basketball head coach, Mr. Nick McDevitt. How are you doing, Coach?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Can you believe you're entering your 8th season as a Blue Raider?
I know, it's great. It's great. There are times where it feels like it's in year 2, and there's other times you feel like you have been here 8 years. So,
yeah.
But as a lot of people around here know, Murfreesboro's a great town. My family and I enjoy living here and working here, and season 8's about to start.
Yeah, it's exciting. So we're going to go back in time a little bit. We're going to talk about your journey up until this point of being a Blue Raider. I want you to tell me your story, your background, everything like that.
Well, I grew up in western North Carolina in a small town about 15 minutes northwest of Asheville called Marshall. Went to high school at Madison County High School and ended up playing basketball at UNC Asheville for 4 years under Eddie Biedenbach. Coach Biedenbach was, an assistant coach for the 1974 NC State team that won the national championship with David Thompson and Monty Tao, Tommy Burleson, and just learned a lot under him during college. And then right when I graduated, 2 of the assistant coaches that coached me took other jobs. And so Coach Biedenbach asked me to stay on as an assistant coach immediately after I graduated. So I was fortunate enough to get started in my college career immediately upon graduation. He put me out on the road recruiting, and so that was really when the journey started. But I knew I wanted to do that, years earlier. My dad was my Little League coach, basketball, baseball, football. He coached me in all of it. My uncle, his brother, was the girls' basketball coach at my high school, and his name is now on the court at my high school. And so those 2 just were coaches. And, we'd be at my grandmother's house a Sunday afternoon after church, and we're watching ball games, and those 2 are coaching watching the TV. We should go zone. We should call timeout. Why are we throwing the ball? We're watching football games. So it just kind of was a part of me and in me, and I knew that by the time I was about in the 9th grade, it's pretty clear I wasn't going to play in the NBA. Everybody thinks they're going to when they're 10 or 12. But at that point, I knew I wanted to stay involved in basketball, but that, making a career of playing it probably wasn't in the cards. So I wanted to get into coaching, and fortunately I went to a place and got fortunate enough at UNC Asheville to where my college coach gave me a chance really early, and I worked for him for 12 years as an assistant. And then he took a job at UNC Wilmington, and the athletic director there, which is still the athletic director at UNC Asheville, a lady named Janet Cohn, gave me my first opportunity, and I was the head coach there for 5 years before coming here.
Wow. Okay. Now, after last year's success in the season, making the CUSA semifinals, and then also having the chance to have the bid to the NIT to host the first opening round, what was and is currently your main focus with this team? A bunch of new faces, just acclimating them to what the culture is here at MTSU.
Yeah, I think that's you bring up an important word there with culture. It's something that you're reestablishing. You should work on it all the time, something that you keep at the forefront of your mind, no matter the circumstances of your roster or what organization you're in. But that has become more and more challenging these days because there's less retention. When you think about the transfer portal, the NIL era, we were fortunate enough to keep 6 players off of last year's roster, but we do have 9 newcomers. And when you think about trying to incorporate 9 new guys into your program and quickly establish what we're about, what we're going to be about as we move forward, it's really important that your returnees are the ones that can really help with that. And I think our veteran guys have really done a nice job of leading with their voices, leading by example, bringing the new guys into our program, showing what we're going to be about. Obviously, we want to build on last year's team, last year's successes. We won over 20 games again over the last several years, and got to the semifinals. Obviously, the goals are to get back to the NCAA tournament. At the same time, we were able to get to the NIT, as you said, for only the 5th time in program history. And so we want to try to build on that. And we've got a really good group. I like the way they work and the way they work together. So it'll be important that that mixture of guys can really, just try to take it one step further.
Oh, yeah. And looking or digging deeper into the 9 new guys that have walked on campus, walking onto the court, starting from high school to JUCO, even some Power 4 transfers, what have you been impressed by with them, maybe specifically or just overall as a group?
Several things. I think as a group, they came in with open ears, open eyes, wanting to get better, wanting to learn. You think you're getting that right in the recruiting process, but you never know until they're here. And you're going through the daily grind of practices and workouts and being in the weight room, having our obviously our early season scrimmages and exhibitions. But they've been a coachable group. They're unselfish. They want to get better. So far, a lot of the things that we're asking of them, they're doing. They're trying. And that's always a good sign. Once you've kind of met the talent gap, the talent threshold, you've met what you need in terms of size and athleticism. Now you need a group that's willing to get better over the next 5 months. Basketball, it's a long season. It's a 2-semester sport. You start workouts in June. You start official practices in late September, and you want to still be playing in March. It's a long year. So the important thing is that this group continues to get better over the coming months.
Is there any names of players or standouts that you think will really make an impact immediately?
Of the new guys, I think our 2 incoming guards have really stood out over the last several months. And Sean Smith, a transfer guard from Western Illinois, you can tell he's an older guy, and he is, but you can see it in the way he plays and the way he handles coaching. He's a confident young man. He goes about his business the right way. And then Javin Carter, obviously a talented young man from East Tennessee, went to Alcoa High School, and coming out of high school went to Penn State, and then transferred back home here to Middle Tennessee, and he's been good. Those 2 guys have played well off of each other. They compete against each other a lot in practice, but at the same time, when we put them together, there's chemistry there as well. And Javin's just got an ability to score the ball. They have strengths, different strengths, which I think is a good thing for our basketball team as we go forward.
Another name we have to bring up is the international student from Serbia,
Luka
Jovanovic.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, he has come into this group, and looking at him, he's a very skilled big. What have you seen from him just adjusting to this new environment, coming from Serbia, and just what has he really brought to the table?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've seen him where he's not smiling.
I know.
He always seems to be in a good mood and happy to be here. Whether it's you see him walking across campus or at any of the other events around campus, coming to practice in the weight room, he just brings a good spirit to the locker room, to our team. He's a really hard worker. He's someone that where he grew up in Serbia, there wasn't a local gym or a place to really get workouts in and work on your game. So, if somebody's riding a bus an hour and 15 minutes each direction just to get to a gym to work out. So being here and being able to just walk across the street and get in here to the Murphy Center to work out is he says is awfully. It's a nice change. But again, he's big, he's strong, he's competitive, and he's just fun to be around. It's nice to sometimes there's a big learning curve of how hard you've got to work as a true freshman. Sometimes you think as a senior in high school, you're generally the most talented on your team and in the area, so you may not be busting it every day, but still are having success. And sometimes there's that learning curve when you become a college freshman. But he's played on a club team in Europe where there's some older guys, and you could see that as he's gotten here, he's acclimated quickly as a true freshman.
We're going to switch it to the older guys now. You said 6 returners. A lot of them are going to have to step up in leadership roles like Torrey Alston, like Trey Green, Kamari Lands, Chris Loof.
Yep.
How have they been doing with really stepping up and being a vocal leader to help the new guys?
Yeah, again, I think it's both being vocal leaders but also leading by example. You're starting to see and hear Kamari Lands and Torrey Alston more Trey Green goes about his business. He's quiet off the court, but he has a different personality when he steps on the court. He's a very competitive young man, but just goes about his business the right way. And as you said, all those guys are going to have to take a step up, and that's what you want. In this new age of the transfer portal, everybody talks about your talent acquisition. Who are the new guys? Who are the guys that are going to come in and really make the biggest impact? And there is value in that, and that's not a bad way to think about it. At the same time, I just think it's really important that you're continuing to develop the players that stay in your program. And that's what we've seen from those guys. They've all made jumps in their body, their strength numbers, their weight numbers have gone up, what they're able to do on the court, just continue to expand their game. Think about somebody like Trey. Last year, there's 3 other guards that were pretty doggone good in Justin Porter, Cam Weston, and Jalen Counter. And so all the while, Trey Green has got to be ready when now it should be kind of his turn, as a fourth-year senior. Yeah. Those guys are gone, and now he's got to step up. The same with guys like Kamari Lands and Torrey Austin. All of a sudden, out the door goes Justin Buford, a multi-year starter here, somebody that you knew you could count on day after day after day. That's where those guys have to grow their games, is not just – you could be a sometimes guy when you're number 7, 8, 9 perhaps. It's hard to be the everyday guy, and that's what Chris Loof is starting to learn as well. Has been a great kind of backup to Jared Coleman-Jones 2 years ago, and a solid backup last year to Issam Mustafa, first-team All-League guy, newcomer of the year. And now Chris, because of those minutes, we think is ready to become an everyday guy. And it's really good for them to kind of see what that looks like, what that feels like from older guys, and hopefully now they're ready for it.
You mentioned it earlier, but I've heard you say it constantly in the preseason, that this team is unselfish.
Yep.
How do they continue to be committed day in and day out to that word that you're saying?
Well, I think that's the only way we're going to win. But also I think it makes you more balanced, harder to defend, not just be able to key in on one guy. Obviously, that's a great thing to have as somebody that you can just kind of throw the ball to and then go get you a bucket. But at the same time, I think when you're multidimensional, it makes you a more well-balanced team. It also allows you to soak up sickness, injury, foul trouble. If everything's going through one person, now all of a sudden that guy goes down and he's out for several weeks or, goodness gracious, the whole year, and everything was surrounded around that one person, now you got a big problem. And so I think it's important for us to be balanced, but also we want to play deep in our bench. And, if we can play 9, 10, hopefully 10, 11 deep this year, we can force an up-tempo style of play. And that's the way we want to play.
I know also when it comes to chemistry, you have 2 cousins on the team, and you have 2 prior JUCO teammates on the team as well.
Yeah.
How important or vital is that to already have established those previous connections?
It can't hurt. It's been pretty good for our team. Obviously, Savon Weichel and Javin Carter are cousins. We actually, that wasn't an intentional thing from us. Javin had already decided he was transferring here from Penn State, and we started recruiting Savon. And knowing that he was from Smyrna and he was leaving his previous school at Missouri St. Louis, and when we reached out to him, my cousin is coming to play for you next year. And, don't
so
hear
special.
that all the time, but I have heard that several times. And then you ask, who's your cousin or who's your buddy? And I'm not sure who that is. Well, he said it's Javin Carter. So, yeah, you're right. Your cousin is coming to play for us. So, obviously, in the recruiting process, him being a local product and having a family member already coming here didn't hurt. And then Sean Smith and James Dent were teammates several years ago when they played at John A. Logan Junior College before they went on to 4-year schools. So, not just teammates, but also roommates. And so there was a strong connection there.
Wow.
So with the newcomers, they kind of have a bond already created. And when you've got a good group like I think we do, and an unselfish group, those bonds continue to get better and stronger.
Now we're going to look at your schedule. You play some
Yeah.
You play some Power 4 schools like Michigan, like Houston.
Yeah.
How important is it to have competitors like that you're going to be able to see and play on the court?
Well, there's several reasons for that. Number one, when you get to the NCAA tournament, those are the kinds of teams you're going to face.
Exactly.
And you want to make sure that, our goal is not just to get back there. Obviously, that's step one. But like has happened in years past, you want to get in there in advance. And that's the caliber of teams that you're going to face. Number two is when you play those games, they pay you. And it helps pay the bills. And so when you're getting $90,000, $100,000 checks per game, you're talking about bringing in anywhere from $180,000 to $200,000 just in those two games, and those help. And so it's multifaceted, but at the same time, you look at the rest of the schedule: UAB, Murray State, Belmont, George Washington, Evansville. There's a lot on there, and it's going to be difficult. It is. It's one of the more difficult schedules that we've played since I've been here. I was talking one of my former assistant here at Middle Tennessee as well. Sean Dixon is now at Clemson with Brad Brownell, and talking to them over the summer out recruiting. We're sitting there watching a game, and we're discussing, are you done with your schedule? Are you liking your summer workouts? What does your schedule look like? So I started rattling off who we were playing. He said, "What are you doing? That's harder than ours." And but such is the nature of mid-major scheduling now for teams like ourselves, because the Power Fours want to play Quad 1 and Quad 4 games. Basically they want to play kind of each other in Quad 1s, or they want to play kind of bad teams where they can run up their metric numbers. And we're in the middle there. And then if you're not able to buy games, that is buy your home game schedule, then you get into home and homes. Well, when you start looking at some of the other leagues around the country, they're not going to want to play a lot of home and homes versus teams out of a league like ours. Last year our league were the eighth in the net, 31 leagues. Conference USA's eighth. We finished second in the eighth best league. There aren't teams that are just going to say, yeah, we'll play you in a home and home. If I'm coming to Middle Tennessee, I need money. And when we say, well, we're not paying you, they say, well, I'm not playing you. So all of a sudden what you end up doing is your home and homes are kind of the best teams in the mid-major leagues. That's why UAB, that's why George Washington and Murray and so on and so on. And so when you couple that with needing to get bought twice, all of a sudden you look down and there's not an off night.
Yeah.
And it makes – that will be a big challenge for our team is, are we mentally and physically tough enough to handle the grind of November and December, and does it prepare us for what we got ahead in January, February, March?
Well, you already answered my next question about what would be the biggest test for this season, and it will be your schedule.
Yeah, it will, and not just in non-conference play, but in conference play. Our schedule is going to be our biggest challenge. We're the only team in the league that the conference office scheduled to play 4 games in a row on the road in one stretch, and 4 out of 5 on the road in a separate stretch.
Okay.
We also have 4 games where we have a preparation disadvantage. We don't have one game in conference play where we're, for instance, on a bye, but they play. But we have 4 games in addition to those where we're playing on a Thursday, they played on a Wednesday. That's an extra day of prep. Or they're on a bye week and we play on a Thursday. So we get 1 day to prepare and they get 5 days to prepare. And so the schedule and the way it came about, it didn't do us any favors, but such is what we got coming ahead of us.
Yeah.
And are we tough enough to handle those things? That'll be a big challenge for us.
Yeah. Last question is, what do you think the fans can expect to see that might surprise them come November 5th for your home opener against Milligan?
Well, the home opener, what can surprise them is the crowd noise.
Education Day.
It's Education Day, and it'll be early. It's 10:30 in the morning, so it'll be breakfast with the Blue Raiders and a lot of young, loud children from the area. But it's awesome. It really is. It's a loud environment. It is a high-pitch noise,
Maybe a little
but
shrieking.
it's fun. It really is fun. I mean, from the time they get in here, an hour before warm-ups. They're wanting our guys to dunk the ball, and you can hear it from the locker room. But it's a fun day, and I think those kind of days and opportunities are really important when you can start getting young children from your area on a college campus at a young age and see what that looks like and what does that feel like. There are some that are unfortunate or not as fortunate to where they may not get on a college campus till they're juniors and seniors in high school. So to get them starting to be on a college campus and think about where they want to be in 5, 6, 7, 8 years is awfully important. And watch some basketball while you're doing it.
Nothing better.
Nothing better.
Well, thanks so much for your time, Coach. It's going to be an exciting season, and we can't wait.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And now we're back with Kamari Lands, the senior guard from Indianapolis, Indiana, who's in his second year as a Blue Raider. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm chilling.
You're chilling. Okay. Let's talk about your journey in basketball. I know you grew up in Indiana, but you've also played at 2 Power 4 schools before being here. So I want you to walk me through your journey in basketball.
I started playing basketball when I was like 2 years old. Basketball's been in my hand since, like I said, as long as I can remember. Growing up, I lived in Brownsburg, Indiana. Well, I went to private school before that, but then I ended up living in Brownsburg with my mom, and I went to elementary school there until like about 7th, 8th grade. I went to live with my dad. Fall Creek Valley, played there from 7th to 8th grade. Then I went to La Lumiere my freshman year in LaPorte, Indiana for prep, and then I went to Prolific Pack my junior year in Napa, California. Then I went to Hillcrest my senior year in Arizona. Then I went to Louisville my freshman year. Left there, went back to Arizona to go to Arizona State. Now I'm here.
So you've been everywhere.
Indian everywhere, man. Indian everywhere.
Do you think being everywhere, though, and going to all these different places, do you think it taught you a lot as a person and a player?
For sure. It's definitely a blessing. I feel like more than anything, a lot of learning lessons, just with even going to different schools, dealing with different people. I made a lot of friends along the way. I feel like that was one of the big pluses, like made a lot of connections that you can't really do just staying at home. Like I said, I've been everywhere. I know people everywhere, coaches, players, and but like you were saying, I learned a lot just about myself. Like you kind of grow up a little fast when you're traveling that much, especially being away from home when you're about 15 years old, and then all the way until now. So it's just like I'm kind of like used to it now. So
why'd you choose to come to MTSU?
After Louisville and Arizona State, I just had to kind of sit and reflect and just kind of figure out where I'm at as a player and a person. And, just sitting down with my family that summer, I kind of figured out what that was, and I just wanted to go to a school that kind of helped me fit that. And I just felt like MT was that, kind of fit everything I wanted. And, it was close to home, too. After going cross country, my peeps wanted me to kind of come back closer, and so it just fit the whole thing.
Well, now you're in your second year, and you're stepping more into that leadership role, a lot like a lot of other returners. But for you coming into this season, what's been your main focus of what you wanted to grow on, maybe as a player and a teammate?
I find I'm just trying to become a professional. Like I said, it's my senior year, 22 years old. Like I said, I've been in school, and just trying to kind of take that step that I've always wanted to do, just to reach my max potential. And like I said, I feel like being an older guy, kind of understanding the ins and outs, what I've been through, just trying to take that step of being a professional.
You've had to overcome a knee injury last year. I know that you missed a lot of conference play, but what do you think you learned the most about yourself dealing with that adversity in order to be now your preseason all-conference team, now you're on that list?
Like I said, the injury taught me a lot. I haven't really had an injury like that for a long, long time, since I was like a kid. But so just kind of sitting out, watching from the sidelines, not really able to do anything, just taught me how much I really appreciated basketball because it's been so long, and just like it kind of just makes you, like I was kind of saying about like what I wanted to do this year about being a professional, it kind of just helps you realize just like what you need to do as a person. So like, especially, having the appreciation from the conference, giving me those accolades kind of, helped me realize that people still have that belief in me to be that type of professional. So, I mean, yeah, just like I said, it was just a lot of learning lessons, a lot of reflections, a lot of just trying to get back out there.
There's 9 new guys on the team. What's the vibe? How's the connection going? Or what's like what you've been seeing on the court? How's it going?
Everybody's great people. Like, I feel like everybody is like really family here. Like I said, I feel like the coach always kind of talks about how the strongest thing we are is being unselfish, and like that's how we even are off the court. Like, everybody's just hanging around each other, looking out for each other. It's no problems. It's all love, and it's like, but that's how it was from day one. Like, it just instantly clicked. Like, everybody laughing and joking. Like, it was never no like. Sometimes people got to ease their way around people, but everybody kind of was just like being themselves from the jump. Like I said, all the returners were all close too from last year, so it's like just made it easier, especially having even good older guys that came in and they're just about the team.
There's a lot of guys who can play a variety of positions too, no matter where you put them. How do you think that's going to make a positive impact on the court?
I feel like it's always a plus being versatile as a player, as a person, or even as a team. Like I said, you can give people different looks. It's hard to scout teams that can, like you said, play different positions, have different lineups up there at all times. So I feel like it's just a great plus.
What do you think is going to be the biggest obstacle for you guys this year? I know, Coach, we've talked about it. He said it's the scheduling. That's going to be pretty tough. But from your perspective, what do you think it is?
I feel like we definitely have a tough schedule, but I feel like it's not really anything we can't do. Like I said, we're a good team, so it's like. But I feel like I said, having new players, like 9 new players, there's some things that you can't really like practice that happens to a team or happens to teams that have been together that you just got to go through to understand how people are going to react. So I feel like that's really kind of the main thing is just like, what are we going to do when adversity hits? Like, we're down 10 with 4 minutes to go. Like, it's hard you can do it in practice, but it isn't really the same with the emotions and stuff when you're in the game, especially when you got 9 new players and you don't, you know what I'm saying? You don't know how we are going to gel with that. So I feel like, but that's with any team that has 5+ new players, especially that play significant minutes. So it's like, but like I said, I feel like how we look now, just how unselfish we are on and off the court, it's like I don't think it would be that much of a problem.
You've been a part of, like what we mentioned earlier, a lot of power forward teams, a lot of teams that have a very many accolades. But what do you think about this team specifically that makes it so special, other than being unselfish?
I would say our willingness to whatever the coaches give us, any challenge, we do it. Like there's never really been a thing that we've been asked that like as a team we would be like, we can't do it, or give up on it, or just next thing. Like, we always figure it out, we always do it, and I feel like that's a big plus for a team is like seeing a challenge ahead of us and just going to accomplish it. There isn't any like problems or setbacks or like there's always going to be, like you said, there's always going to be problems, but like the willingness to get through it together has been there for us.
Last question is home opener, November 5th against Milligan. What would you tell the community to make sure they come out and witness how special this team is on the court?
Like I said, we're going to put on a show for MT, the Murfreesboro, everybody that wants to come support. Like I said, this is a good team. Everybody's going to get touches. Everybody's going to be making threes. We can shoot well. We got high flyers. We got defense. We got whatever you guys need. So it's like, I think you guys should come support, come watch.
All right. Thanks, Kamari. Appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.